I mean, that's a good aspect to have brotherhood and sisterhood in Islam. But this year we will get an opportunity to focus on our sincerity. When you do qiyam at your home, you're doing it because you want to, communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not you're not doing it, to make friends or to see your friends or to socialize. And we have an opportunity for a family connection, to have iftar with your family, pray together, read Quran together, and do, the nawafil and tahajjud and tarawih together. And also, your connection with the Quran will improve because you're going to be reciting on your own, and you're going to make your own dua in your own words. Instead of just saying Ameen behind an imam, you're going to communicate directly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're going to make it more personal this year, inshallah. And you're going to know that you have to be self-determined, and you have to lead yourself, essentially, because you're going to have a lot of distractions being at home. You're going to have the kitchen nearby, and you probably spend a lot of time visiting the refrigerator. But this year, we're going to have to be self-driven and self-motivated to accomplish our goals for this month, inshallah. So, as I mentioned, at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslims would pray Isha at the masjid, and then they would go home for the Qiyam al-Layl. And technically speaking, the Tarawih was actually Tahajjud, which was done in the last third of the night, not directly after Isha like we pray now. So it's actually, we are living the Ramadan in its essence, like in its pure form, when at the early time of the Sahabas, when we would pray, Muslims would wake up 3 in the morning to pray Tahajjud. So it's as if Allah is reviving the deen of Islam by giving us this opportunity to clean our slate and go back to basics. So how can we make this Ramadan count? It was narrated, I'll just paraphrase this hadith, it's in front of you if you want to read it, but Talha ibn Ubaidullah, there was a time where 2 men came to meet with Prophet ﷺ, and they both became Muslim at the same time. And one was more devoted than the other, and he strove harder, and he died a shaheed in the battlefield. The other one lived an entire year before he died. So there were 2 people, 2 men, they both became Muslim. One died a shaheed, and he was the one who, strove harder, and he was more dedicated than the one who died a year later. So Talha had a dream that he saw both of those men, and they were at the gates of paradise. And someone came out to admit them both in. But the first one to be admitted was the one who died a year later. After him, he came back and brought in the second one, the one who died a shaheed. And then when he came back to Talha, he told him, go back, it's not your turn. And then he woke up from his dream, and he started to tell this story to people until it reached Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the people were shocked that the one who died a shaheed was admitted second. The first one to be admitted was the one who didn't strive as hard, and the one who didn't die a shaheed. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, didn't he stay behind for an extra year? Like he died a year later after the other one, right? And they said yes. And he said, did he not observe Ramadan, and he fasted, and he offered such and such prayers during that year? And they said yes. So he said the difference between them is greater than the difference between heaven and earth. So we could interpret from that hadith that 1 year of Ramadan, observing that 1 year of Ramadan, fasting that month and doing the prayers during that year, just that 1 year distinguished him from the one who died a shaheed. So we don't want to lose this opportunity, even if we are observing it at home. We're still going to be observing, and there's still many opportunities for us this Ramadan. So we should be, thankful that we are blessed with the opportunity to observe this Ramadan. And so with regards to the hadith of when the month of Ramadan starts, the gates of heaven are open and the gates of hell are closed and the devils are chained. Al-Qurtubi narrated, because many people will ask this question, if the devils are chained, why do people still commit evil? and it's a good question. And the reason is, it's because the answer is that evil actions are reduced on the part of those who fast, meeting all of the conditions of fasting, and they take care to observe the proper etiquette. Or it might be that some of the devils are chained up, namely the strong ones, but not all of them, as it says in some reports, or that evils are reduced in this month, which is something noticeable, right? Because fewer evils happen, especially among the Muslims who are fasting, than during the rest of the year. If all the devils were to be chained up, it does not mean that evil and sin doesn't occur, because there's evil that's committed, apart from the devils. We have our own nafs. It could be that we're not inspired by the devil, but we do evil actions from our own accord, or we have bad habits that we do, and it could be, people who do evil things. So just because the shayateen are chained up, it doesn't mean that sin and evil is non-existent during this month. So some of the things that we can do to benefit ourselves this month is to create a masjid away from the masjid, right? We can observe Ramadan in our house. Some of the ways we can do that is to have a dedicated musalla area, keep it away from distractions, put a rug there, make that your dedicated place where you're going to pray every night. Make adhan allowed for each of the salawat. And if you can't do it yourself, have a recording of the adhan. And pray at the established prayer times. Don't delay your salah. As soon as it's time, observe the prayer times as if you were at the masjid. And follow a routine. It's the small continuous actions that will lead you to success. So every day, read along with your favorite qari, do your salawat, make dua, pray witr, do it regularly. And if you'd like, just to give yourself the spirit of going to the masjid, dress in the clothes that you'd wear to the masjid. If you wear like an abaya or a thawb to the masjid, do the same, when you do your tarawih at home, to give yourself the spirit of Ramadan. And you could also follow the recitation or talks, in your musalla area, instead of, sitting on the couch or laying down in your bed. Put yourself in your musalla zone to give yourself the feel of being in the masjid. And also decorate your house with Ramadan decor to give yourself the Ramadan vibe, just to put yourself in that mood. So some spiritual pointers, things that we can do. Have a Quran reading schedule, but make it practical. Don't say, I'm going to read the entire Quran in 1 week. Be realistic. Pick a time and do it like consistently at the same time, because once you have a routine, it will become more normalized and you'll stick with it, rather than making it impractical and, an unreachable goal. So focus on your 5 daily prayers with khushu' and perfection, and then add as much of the sunnah as you can. And listen to a recitation of the Quran. You could find them all on YouTube. Pick a favorite qari. I would recommend either like Hani Rifa'i or Ismail al-Nuri, or somebody with a pleasant, recitation to that you'd want to keep listening to him. And do tarawih on your own. Even if you only know short surahs, it's no problem. You're even allowed to hold the mushaf while praying. And do the witr prayer daily. And if you don't know how, it's an opportunity to learn. Also, as we mentioned earlier, do the dua on your own and be sincere, and do it from your heart, because you're talking directly to your Lord. And also focus on your demeanor while fasting. We know the hadith of fasting is a shield. So we want to focus on how we can use our fasting to protect us from committing sins. And also, there are many YouTube series for Ramadan that we can watch daily, such as In the Shade of Ramadan series from MAS, which is the Muslim American Society. And there are many. Sheikh Omar Suleiman has a really good Ramadan series. Sheikh Yasser Al-Qadi has a very good Ramadan series. So just be consistent with learning as much as you can and come up with a routine. So some do's and don'ts this month. We want to be positive, because we're all in this together. Even I mentioned some of the imams that are giving, they're streaming videos. Even they're doing it from their home, right? They're with their families also. if you look at the Kaaba, the floor is completely empty. So it's the entire ummah. We're all in this together. And try new things. Maybe you've never followed a recitation online or prayed tarawih by yourself or dressed up at home to pray. So it's, it's okay for us to be outside of our normal comfort zone, and we're all trying something new together. But don't neglect your community. Still connect with your friends. Call people, call your friends, check on them, see how they're doing. Call your parents if you don't live with them, call relatives. Make sure that you check on the community. Just because we are isolated from them, we shouldn't be spiritually isolated from our brothers and sisters. And try to avoid sleeping your days away. I mean, some people, the entire day they spend sleeping and then wake up all night. So you're missing the opportunity of the benefit of Ramadan. I'm going to open the floor to questions and answers or discussion. Any comments, any suggestions that we could do this year to make this our best Ramadan ever? Raise your hand. There should be a raise hand option. Going once. Going twice. No questions, comments, observations?
Brother, I don't see the hand, so I'm sorry I cannot click on that. Okay. But I do have a question, if I may.
So before you continue, then so there's no raise hand option. So just unmute yourself to ask your question, and then go ahead, brother.
Yes, I have a question about the. As you know, most of us are going through challenging, tough times. As you know, we've been locked down for a number of weeks now, and it's gonna go on for another month and a half, or God knows how long. But it is making almost everybody very uptight. They're stressed out because of the time we're living. It's almost like you're locked up in your own home. It's like a house arrest. It feels like that. So the anxiety is all-time high. My question is, what do you do to subside your anxiety level and reduce the anxiety level? And people, I have heard some friends of mine and my families that we know so close, they said that they're having some anxiety attacks. Actually, some people are having panic attacks, and there has been time. I think there has been some report of maybe some suicides gonna be has happened, some or will be happening. Can you address that? How we keep our mind set, our mind on a level that we don't come down with these panic attacks and so on and so forth.
Right. So, alhamdulillah, we are not, completely imprisoned. We are permitted, in the state of California to leave the house as necessary. So, especially in this month, we're going to have the opportunity to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you are still allowed to go out, take walks, don't, try to feel that this isn't something bad for us. This is something that we're all doing together to prevent an illness from spreading. But we just have to take a common sense approach. If you do have to go out, take the appropriate measures, wear a mask, wear gloves, wash your hands, use sanitizer, enjoy nature. But we just have to use common sense. And in this month, it's going to be an opportunity of spirituality in which, so the difference is, there's a lockdown, but we're not imprisoned. But, the Ramadan will be observed from our homes. But it doesn't mean we should think that in any way that we are being deprived of anything this Ramadan, because we're actually going back to the basics of the way, other than praying the Isha in the masjid in Jama'ah, we are still doing everything pretty much the way it was done at the time of Prophet Muhammad and the companions. of eating iftar in our homes, praying tarawih and qiyam and reading Quran in our homes. The only thing that we're being deprived that occurred at the time of Prophet Muhammad Jama'ah, and possibly there will be no Eid this year also. So it is kind of, this is a unique situation that none of us have ever experienced in our lifetimes before, of having no Eid. But what we also have to realize is that the entire world is going through the same thing. So in that sense, there is that we're experiencing this all together as a community, and not just as Muslims, but Christians who just had Easter, they had the same dilemma. So this is a worldwide phenomenon. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't address how to avoid the anxiety, but it would be important for anybody going through anxiety to talk to the appropriate professionals.
I think if I may add a little bit to what you just said about it, to help our brothers and sisters, is to have a focus during this tough time, more than ever, to be in touch with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his teaching through his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to know that anything that happens in life, whether it's in aggregate, individually, in whatever shape or form it comes to us, I think it's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we have a faith and we do anything in life, and we do it because we have this mindset that Allah is He is the one who knows the best, what is good for us. So whatever is happening in our life, it is for good, it is for best, or it's for better. And if we have that mindset, even though it looks difficult, but it could be better, it's just we don't know today. So I think with that mindset, it will reduce people's anxiety that it's okay to be living the way we are in these times. I think it will definitely help a lot of people.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. I think we had another question earlier.
I was gonna say something about a recommendation to keep your deens, and keep focused while you're in the month of Ramadan. For a lot of people, journaling is really fun to do. Bullet journaling and stuff is getting really popular and things like that. And I've noticed there's a large branch of Bible journaling that's specifically for, making the Bible more accessible for Christians. And I was thinking, as Muslims, we should be the number one people, because we know this is truly the book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should try to, get in touch with it in different ways. For some people, reading and reciting and listening to translation and things like that may be helpful, but for others, you need something hands-on to do to connect with the book of Allah. So like, coming up with good ideas and fun ways to journal and draw things that help you understand what Allah is trying to communicate to us may be useful. And going back to the other brother's question about dealing with the anxiety and stuff, journaling has been proven to be a method that helps alleviate some of the anxieties. Obviously, for someone who has a disorder, to reach out to a professional. And I think there are some services that are being offered online for Muslim counseling through, I believe Access California has some. But yeah, that was my
Thank you for the timely response. So what you touched on is very important, because the month of Ramadan is a month of ibadah, and we tend to think of ibadah only as praying and reading Quran, or going to the masjid, but anything could be ibadah if you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even journaling, if it brings you closer to Allah, then that's ibadah. Even horseback riding, if you contemplate nature and you think of like the magnificence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created everything, that becomes a form of ibadah. So we get rewarded 70-fold for every act we do that brings us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So journaling could be one of those methods. So think outside the box of all the different opportunities we could take advantage of this month. So barakallah feek for that. Any other comments, observations, questions? If not, what time is it? 8:11. I think 4 minutes early is okay. We originally scheduled till 8:15, so it's 8:11. If you guys don't have any further questions, comments, or observations, inshallah, we'll end with a dua. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Thank you all for joining and taking time out of your schedules, inshallah. I believe the program will continue next week as well, inshallah. And Jazakallah khairan to everybody for joining.
Jazakallah, brother.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khairan.
Wa